This is the Bar Rescue After Show for Season 4, Episode 25, Brokedown Palace on AfterBuzz TV.
You're tuning in to the online broadcast network.
This is the Bar Rescue After Show for Season 4, Episode 25, Brokedown Palace on AfterBuzz TV.
You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzz TV fans, and of course, fans of Bar Rescue. We're here with another Bar Rescue After Show, and I am joined by the lovely, the talented, the gifted, number one Bar Rescue expert. I'm sorry, you're not going to like me saying that, but I have to say that because, you know, I believe that. Mia Mastroianni.
Hi, guys. So great to be back.
I love when we get you on the episode you're on.
I know, I do too.
It's like perfect. By the way, like I don't think people realize it's because of your schedule, you're traveling and you're always.
It's been a busy summer,
right? So it's a coincidence that you ended up being here on the day after you were on what I thought was a great episode.
I think it turned out to be a great episode.
Right? Okay,
as well.
now wait. Now can I ask you something?
But...
Well, I'm actually more biased than you, I think, because I'm such a fanboy of this show. But not last week, the week before, it was a rough one, and it wasn't a rough one in a good way.
Right.
Let me ask you this: are there any episodes you see that you're just like not as big a fan of?
I feel like there's always something to take away from Bar Rescue. I'm not even I am a super fan of Bar Rescue. I enjoy watching it every week and seeing the different experts and seeing the transformations that John does, and even the problems are always so diverse. It's not just like formulaic. It's always one thing or another, and there's so many different characters that there's always something that I can kind of latch onto or learn from, or just
that's okay. So
that's my mind.
I agree. I'm befuddled that 100 episodes in and we're still learning new things.
Exactly.
But it's interesting to ask you, who's so great at what you've done. I mean, I've even seen you at work, and you work at literally one of the highest profile places in LA, which means it's one of the highest profile places in the United States, in my opinion. But you've learned from this show as well, even with someone of your great, vast experience?
Absolutely. I mean, I love dorking out. The cocktail trainings are obviously my favorite, but Phil Wills was recently on, and he is just so suave and sexy.
Phil Wills is
and
a bad man.
He
is a
drops knowledge,
badass.
and he and I speak the same language, and I have the utmost respect for the way he goes in and executes his training.
I love Phil because he is all business. He's amazing.
He is just so suave. But I really enjoy watching the other experts and their technique and the way they get particular bar staffs to engage, because it's tricky. Sometimes we get there and it's like with this group in Brokedown Palace, this group had no training, no technique, no experience, and they were just wide-eyed.
And you said it on the episode. It's in here in my notes, but I had written down is this? I'm always nervous to say these things because we've seen 100 episodes. Even my memory gets jarred. Is this the worst bar staff in terms of just technical expertise?
In terms of the bar staffs that I have
Not in
worked
terms of
with,
attitude. I'm saying in terms of just
bartending.
Yes.
For me personally, my experience on the show, this was the worst group that I have worked with.
They were rock bottom.
It was rough. It was rough. And the thing is, they had heart, they had passion, they were wonderful, lovely people who were very excited that we gave them the opportunity for help. And they just didn't even know what to do with us. and they were just so wide-eyed and innocent and just thought the whole thing was magical, but they lacked the focus, they lacked the execution, they lacked the determination and the follow-through to actually implement what we were trying to get across even before the stress test, which is why it was so frustrating and such an epic failure.
Before Bar Rescue, are you that strict behind the bar too? Like you click into this very serious mode where you're.
I do.
Because I know you as someone who smiles a lot and is so cheerful and so sweet, and we all know you as that. That's not like you're put on for me. I know people who know you, but are you like that behind the bar too? When you get serious, I mean, I noticed on the show, like you really turn it on.
When I am behind the bar at Soho House, the bar that I currently work at, it's a completely different thing. There, I'm in my element. I'm doing the Mia show, and like there is a lot more smiling and engaging with my customers because that's what they're there for.
Okay, but what about the other staff?
Because
I cannot see you letting someone here like Steven, my engineer, Steven.
Hey,
but Steven, as I always say, Steven the Mew, a boy in his 20s. But for the Steven the Mews, the handsome guys like this with the great haircut, a little bit of facial hair, who have more, let's say, attitude than talent. Not saying that's Steven, but when you go to those bars in LA, and Steven, you know this, right? The bars you go to, how many like posers do you see that just look amazing behind the bar, but they suck?
I mean, yeah.
Right?
You have to be looking for it to know that they suck, because otherwise you're just out in Hollywood trying to get wasted.
Right.
But if you're like going to have like a good tasting drink and not just get drunk, it's easy. Like it's really hard to find.
And they're so coiffed and put together. So there's no way you don't deal with that or haven't dealt with that. And I don't see you being the one who just says, "Oh, let me get that for you." You tell me.
I can't speak for all of the establishments in Hollywood, but the bar
I'm
that
saying
I currently
you when
work,
you're with them, when you're with that type.
I don't work
everywhere I look.
I don't work among
them.
that type. We have like a boot camp of training to even get to be able to be behind one of our bars.
Gotcha.
You have to be able to know cocktails, know cocktail history, speak about the products on the back bar, know your, like, we all bring our own tools to work. We dork out like that. We're the cocktail nerds.
For your bar, I have had pleasant experiences. That brings me to another issue. I'm a bartender. I've said on the show I did it for a couple of years, and I went to school or whatever, and I always talk about how lost I would be today. That was 10 years ago. I would be more than that, God, 12 years ago. But I would be so lost today because mixology in this last 6 years has just gotten out of control.
Absolutely.
And so I think a lot of the bums have been kind of kicked to the curb because I think we have people who are so passionate about their drinks now. Mm-hmm. I mean, bartenders so passionate about what they create.
Absolutely. And you can find, we have that cocktail culture in Los Angeles where, I mean, there's a lot of cities right now that are really blossoming. It's not just New York and Los Angeles.
No, it'll carry over.
Yeah, it is sweeping the nation, as I like to say. But I mean, there's still a place for dive bars. Like, that's what I love about this culture. It's like I love a good dive bar. I love to go into it, like, I clean. I'll preface with that, but I love a dive bar and going in.
Note to owners, no, dive doesn't have to mean dirty.
But just like super comfortable and kind of casual and just kick back. I love that. But I love, like, I don't expect everyone to be at my level or at the expert level. I like going into a place where people don't really know that much, but you don't expect that when you go to an establishment like that.
There's a great bar that in Encino, of all places, opened up called Sweeney's that I'm dying to take you to.
I've heard of it.
Because I can't believe...
Wait, I've been to it.
Really?
Yes.
And what do you think?
I enjoyed it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and it's listen, I don't want to... I know most of our listeners are around the globe, but in LA, Encino's Valley, it's more neighborhood. And I don't mean like neighborhood bar. I mean like neighborhood, like children. And it's not a place known for bars and drinking. And this place opens up and it speaks to so much, build it and they will come, or just build something of quality and you'll get something. Every bar that had always been there had failed, like a restaurant bar. And these guys came in and it looks like a Taffer bar. And I bring so many people to it because I'm like, wait, is it me? And everyone comes in and is like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in Encino.
I went there for a bar event and I was kind of blown away. The food was great. The service staff was fantastic.
Right.
They had shuffleboard tables.
Well, anyway,
cool.
So back to my thing. So I know we're gonna really pee off fans for not talking about tonight's episode, but
We'll get there.
Yeah, have there been times, maybe not Soho, but at other places where you've had to be put on that other hat to say, hey, come on, what are you doing? Don't put glass in the ice. Don't, you know what I mean? Just the...
If I don't work there, I don't necessarily interject.
I'm saying when you work there, but
Oh.
Soho's not your only job, right? You've worked at other bars.
Oh, I've worked at other bars.
So I'm saying, have you had to be mean Mia?
I don't think so.
There's sweet Mia, tall Mia, and then mean Mia. So you haven't had to be mean Mia at all?
I'm usually not mean to coworkers.
Are you just so are you a lead bartender or manager?
I'm a head bartender.
You're a head bartender, so but you have such a good staff you don't have to.
Right.
Okay, fine.
I mean, we get on each other about like, come on, clean up and don't leave your tools in the sink, and we set the standard, and then it's like if someone's like kind of slipping, you just nudge them a little.
Okay, so let's talk about tonight's episode. Ghazi and his brother-in-law Sam, two pretty nice guys who just seem so clueless about the business, but well-intentioned,
Very
good-hearted,
well-intentioned.
right? I thought this was a bar rescue first. I've never heard of a bar that has never made a profit. So generally every episode's always been, they were making $30,000 a month, and like they'll cut to the interview of the owner. Yeah, it was great. It was like we were just, taking out barrels full of money every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then the music comes in. But over time, Kevin's drinking and womanizing got in the way of profits. And Mia was up to her hands. I just don't know what to do. Then it was time to make a call for help.
Yep.
But this was one that's never made a profit. And I don't think I remember a bar rescue in 100 episodes that's never made a profit.
I think you're right, but very early on into this episode, it's easy to see why. Ghazi was giving away more than half the bar, not charging anybody for anything, and that bar was massive.
Massive!
You could have held like
It was a wedding banquet
wedding.
hall, and you said that, right?
Yes, it was-
There's the first thing came to my mind for the decoration.
It was enormous.
so big.
And I think it played out on TV, but like when we first walked into that bar, it was alarming. I don't know if the show has ever been in a venue that was that immense.
I guess there was so much content we couldn't get there for where it was located in the city, but is there physically enough people to fill that place?
I think there's enough people in that area to at least get a bar crowd and a dinner crowd. It was on a very busy street with a lot of strip malls. It was a thriving area. So I think it was just a matter of recognition. People not knowing what was there. And then if they did go there, it was wildly disappointing.
Did they have shisha and hookah? Like, did they have that, or was
They
that
did.
just
Oh,
the
they did.
owner?
They did.
Okay.
You see it at the beginning,
Yes.
and then kind of when they did the cleanup, you don't see it.
Okay.
But I know it's there. It's when I looked at bar rescue updates, they do the hookah, and people love their hookah.
Yep.
Well, that's why you have like the big tables, because if you're going to have big groups come in and smoke hookah and be there for several hours, you need to have another table for if they don't leave immediately.
It also speaks to, it's funny you said that, Stephen, also speaks to another thing I learned, is like so much takeaway in the show about Moroccan food being communal. And I think this hookah thing speaks to that whole thing. The big round table, and lots of little dishes, everyone sharing it, and people sharing hookah.
Family style.
They're losing $10,000 a month. They're $650,000 in debt. And as you said, no curb appeal, but looked like a wedding banquet hall, and that's exactly what it looked like. This was great. I give compliments to John and Three Ball for bringing in Penny DeViti.
She was fantastic.
Mediterranean dish expert, which is clearly what they need.
Well, from a personal standpoint, I had to do a lot of research for this episode. We were going into creating a Moroccan-themed bar, which I have little to no experience with.
Right.
And she was a natural at coming in with the flavors and the spices, and her food was phenomenal. It was absolutely incredible. But I had to step up my game in terms of, okay, if this is what the food is going to be, I had to do some research in terms of, well, what would cocktails be that would complement it, and what ingredients can I bring in that's going to accentuate the culture?
All right, let me just on a side note. This is why people hire women. This is why, Stephen, this is why the girls are better than us. This is because they see. Can you watch enough of this show? But I don't want to mention names with the guy bartenders. I don't see any of them doing any research at all. It's just guys are just cowboys. They walk in but a girl is so detail oriented and so on their game. And it's probably because we've done such a fine job of holding you down all these years, but that you have to fight even harder. And again, I'm saying, you can't say this, but I'm telling you that I would say 90% of the male expert guys on the show would not do that research. They'd walk in and go, hey, what's up? Okay, we'll just do this, really, and probably do something decent. But I love that about you, and I think that's why I always say, like, no, get some girls on the staff.
I know that I'm not as good at presentation as most of the women I know. They're very good at putting outfits together. They're basically they grow up learning how to put things together that match really
but
well.
They also sweat, and they sweat the details.
I wear black and white. That's
but they also but Stephen, they also feel that they have to be extra prepared, be extra on it, and again, we can only speculate where that comes from, but I see it a lot. I see it so much, and again, I praise you for that. I think that's awesome. That's why more good things coming your way, Mia. I love Ghazi's line, I drink with the customers so I can understand them. Yeah. Well, what better way to understand them? I love that. That made me want. But John put him into the category of just do something in your basement. He had said that. And we talk about this on the show so much of like, oh my God, guys, take your 30 to 70 grand, make your giant, awesome man cave, put in a working keg, neon signs, flat panels.
Have your friends over.
Yeah, the whole thing. Listen, we can't fit a pool table. We'll get a pinball machine. Like, really, put your money in that, and then that's it. Have your friends over and be the most popular guy in the neighborhood, and you'll be happy. And it seemed like he would have been tickled pink in one of those environments. But I love that line. Okay. So we bring the stars of Tut to do recon, which I thought was cool.
They were very cool.
Yeah.
Those guys were fantastic. They were such good sports about being thrown in. And they literally had just come back from Morocco. I think they said they had been there for filming for 6 months.
6 months.
So they were very immersed in the culture. They knew they had been eating this food. They had had the experience. So they were actually the perfect people to do recon.
Ito and Alex, yeah. And their voices were great. One was foreign, and then one had a thicker accent. The other one had the English accent, but it was superb.
Oh my gosh, they were fantastic.
And they took
were
it serious,
hilarious.
too.
They did, but their commentary was very dry humor, and I really took that away because to me it was genius because
Right.
it was insulting without being insulting.
And I love the idea of I'm sure John to a degree has to okay that. But it's great. You have to. Spike's been good to John. John's obviously been great to Spike. It was nice. It was nice to see them there. And I don't know how tight. I'm a history major, so I have DVR Tut, but I haven't seen it yet. No stools at the bar.
No stools at the bar.
None.
No, not a one.
Wow. So I guess just people just hung out at the tables.
It was the most bizarre setup. Again, this room was massive. There was an open area for dancing, but no one was there, so no one was dancing. They did have dining tables, but no bar stools. So no, you would walk up to the bar and get a drink and leave.
So weird.
It was very bizarre.
And were the dancers as bad as that?
Oh my gosh, they were like electric butterflies. It was ridiculous.
So they say it was more Vegas than.
It looked like something from an EDM festival.
Yes.
And the people were weirded out, right? They were just kind of sitting there
Oh yeah.
and not responsive.
Because if you don't go there looking for that experience or go in there like expecting a authentic belly dancing show, they just were missing the mark all over the place. This was just I feel like Penny and I could have gone in and done
probably done better. Yeah, you would have done better. And there was one actually pretty bartender I thought would have been great. She looked nice next to you on a shallow note. The blue-eyed girl.
Oh, yes.
She was great.
She was lovely.
We let her dance too. Cross-contamination in the kitchen.
Oh.
That was gross.
That's scary.
It's very scary because, we expose it on the show, but how many places are
Well, like especially a
doing
place like
this.
that. Like when I have hummus, the bowl of hummus, and then you take your pita bread and you roll it all the way around the plate to get the last bit. You're literally rolling it in E. coli and just eating it. Like that's gross.
That's always what always gets John out of the SUV. Ugh. That's it. I get like he just loses his mind.
But seriously though, after sitting there and watching the practices that were happening in that kitchen, we could not consciously let anyone eat that food.
They're giving away $8,000 to $10,000 a month in alcohol.
Oh, and every night Ghazi would drink a bottle himself.
Yeah, I saw that. Again, dealing with a drunk, which geez, that's not the first time.
Not the first,
and nor will it be the last.
His
I
logic made me
swear.
laugh so
I
hard.
swear over. I asked John about this too. How many alcoholics are bar owners? You know, the percentage. I'd be curious to know, because they're either dry drunks or they're drunks. Not either or, but I don't know, man. I would have to say 60 or 70%
I would
fall into
guess
that category,
something
right?
around there.
That's what I've experienced. And so, I mean, when you deal with a drunk, they're the worst. And you saw it there. He wasn't willing to take any responsibility for anything that he had done in drinking a bottle a night. My God. But I love spending 8 to 10 to stop from losing 20. Mr. John make no sense. And then when John comes back in after the recon, he's in the same space drinking with the same shirt on, which John makes mention of.
Yes.
I thought,
I enjoyed that as well.
John is wrong too, he says. And that was like, I just wrote down like, oh my God, we're just dealing with a drunk. I thought it was interesting with the dynamic between the two of them, and then John being smart when he argues with them to see who would take what side.
Well, that I thought was a great point, especially with these two gentlemen. They were constantly passing the buck. It's not my fault, it's his fault. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. Well, he doesn't do it. It was never ending. It was like children.
Right.
They were like children. And poor Sam was trying, but he didn't have any tools or the wherewithal or the experience to know how to better the business. And then Ghazi was just throwing his own party every night and not listening to Sam, who was trying to do something, even as misguided as it was.
I thought it was great when John, he says, I'm walking out, of course, because I wouldn't deal with that either. Some drunk, like being, about the truth. And they all convince him to run after John. He does. John comes back in. And then this is what I love about John. Rather than just continue to beat that guy up, someone who's like, you walked into something emotional at AfterBuzz here, where one of my staff was emotionally reacting to something. And if John were emotional, he would have kept hammering Ghazi. And in some ways, rightfully so. But instead, he just said, okay, now that we're back, you're both wrong. You're both failing. The only difference is Sam is admitting it. And that's it.
Yes.
And I thought that was great. I love the idea of getting them to switch roles.
That was
Really
great.
smart.
Except for the fact that Ghazi wouldn't stick with it. He would
Right.
not stay in the kitchen.
No. But you know why, though? Because he's an extrovert.
Yep.
An introvert like myself, I would just put me in there all day. Cleaning dishes, whatever, like I just doing the grunt work. But then rather than having to go and work that bar, that to me is a drain. But to an extrovert, that gives them energy. But flip it, put an extrovert in a small confined place, which just that, oh no, they go nuts. Like, he needs attention.
Yep.
He needs to be the center of attention, needs to be talking to people. So yeah, I could see where, but at least he could get some perspective of what his partner's going through, which I thought was a really smart move. What is it? Well, is it Tanzi? With the most popular ingredient in Moroccan food?
A tagine?
The tagine.
Tagine's a dish, I thought.
Oh, yeah. You're
But
talking
there's
about the
something-
spice.
Some spice.
Harissa?
Tanzi.
They were talking about that a lot.
Teresa? Was it with a T?
Harissa, with an H.
Maybe that was it. I don't know. I wish I knew. It was interesting to learn about Moroccan food, and I love the colors of the spice as well. And I didn't know that also translates into the color decor, which we'll get into later. Again, another bar rescue first. And well, we've had offsite stress tests before, but an offsite stress test at a previous rescue,
Which was very cool.
right?
It was so, because here's the thing, and we've said this now several times, that this bar was enormous. So John knew right away that the art team needed a bit more time to do everything that was going to be done, because there's no way they've ever tackled a bar of this magnitude.
real bar.
Because
Because there wasn't a bar. I mean, it was a bar, but there were no stools, like you said. It was like tables that were a mile away.
But that whole room
But
needed to be
Steinhaus is a
altered.
beer bar. You're going there to drink.
Yes. So
That's
I
like a Viking, like.
It was very cool. Ivan was wonderful. It was
He
so
was
cool to
great.
meet him. And I was like, oh, dorking out, because my friend Jason Brand had been the expert on his episode, and we chatted about that and his experience. And it was great. And he was so welcoming and so gracious and willing to tell these guys, pay attention because John knows what he's doing.
Right.
My business has turned around because of him.
I love seeing that. I get so excited because we have so much ingrates. And again, the reason we have the ingrates is because A, they are failures to begin with, and I think B, because of the drinking thing that does get in the way of
one
this.
thing that I will point out about the stress test that someone had pointed out to me, they're like, well, you didn't do any cocktails for the stress test. We did that on purpose. We were putting these guys into a brand new environment, a bar that they had never been behind. So we couldn't teach them cocktails and then also throw them into a new bar.
Yeah,
so
and
like,
by the way, why would you? You're taking it's such a ridiculous question to anyone because the Steinhaus crowd is not the Moroccan crowd.
Right.
The idea is to teach them these drinks that they're going to be giving to people that will want to come back one day to the bar. So the Steinhaus crowd's going to be like, why am I getting a Moroccan drink? You're only going to confuse them.
Exactly.
Plus, these people were so ground zero. You need to teach them how to make a cranberry and vodka.
This is what I'm saying. So this entire night, all they were making was vodka sodas, vodka tonics, rum and colas, whiskey colas, all of that. Like the most basic of drinks. Their pouring was terrible. They were so inconsistent. They couldn't make a vodka cranberry.
I couldn't believe it. I was trying to see if you guys were just editing it on purpose to make a story, but it didn't seem that way.
Oh no, they were their level of incompetency was baffling.
What? Another more takeaway. A wash line. Tell me about a wash line of drinks. I've never heard of this before.
It's the mark where on your glassware, a drink is visually supposed to hit a certain point. That way you know, like it's easy to spot in a martini. And we did that test when we did a training with them. We lined up all their martini glasses and they were all at a different level. So say you're pouring a 3-ounce martini. If your pour is off and someone is short pouring and they poured 1.5 ounces, you're going to see it on the glass. You're going to know that your drink is either too warm or they didn't pour enough or it wasn't chilled enough. So I know just looking at a glass if the cocktail is going to be right even before I taste it.
Wow. You are good. Okay. Before we finish the stress tests, I have to give you a live read from Mazda. We'd like to thank our sponsor for supporting this show, Mazda. And Mazda has a very important question for you and for you too, Mia. Does driving matter to you? There are over 4 million miles of road in the U.S. to find out. That's a lot of ground to cover. A lot of highways, freeways, wrong ways, long ways. They're all about waiting to be driven on. Right? They're all there waiting to be driven on. So, do you take that left turn at Albuquerque or just keep going? Do you wake up early on Sunday morning for a drive before the traffic does? Or do you take the long, winding road home for a change? If driving matters to you, just get out and drive. Why? Because driving matters. Mazda. I got to learn that copy, Stephen. I want to learn that. I'm sorry that I didn't. I was well prepared.
We emailed you.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh boy, well, John would so fire me. I say this all the time. If John ever came through here, Kevin thinks it's more fun to walk around and play Big Shot than he does running AfterBuzz. Okay.
Do you read that email or do you take that left turn at Albuquerque, Kevin?
Yeah, I probably did.
He was still driving.
Because driving matters. Thank you, Mazda. Okay, so when we're doing the stress test, no strainers, terrible pours, brick pitas, and as I wrote down, worst bar rescue mixologists ever.
Mm-hmm. Across the board. There was not a shining star among them.
They mixed up rocks glasses and shot glasses.
Yes, they did.
Like what?
What? And, you do. I can see where the one girl was pouring wrong, and then by the third time, John just had to fire her. But what was her deal? Do you think just nerves or just arrogance or
a combination of both inexperience and not really caring? And we had broken that down. We had gone over it. And then when she was pouring incorrectly, John corrected her. And then I corrected her. And she just wasn't listening. And if you have somebody like that on your staff who's that unwilling to listen to something that is so elementary and basic, you really don't have a future there.
I can't say enough. If you guys are ever lucky enough to get a bartending job, just find a local bartending school in your area. I mean, a lot of people were cynical about them. I remember growing up because, they say they're going to find you a job and then they never do. And like, no, it's on you to find a job. But I remember they had the bottles with the pourers, filled with water, and we would have to do 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and the turn of the wrist, and the turn of the wrist, and the turn of the wrist. We'd have to practice it over and over again.
And there's no way that you can get an accurate pour, holding the bottle by the stump of the bottle.
But again, this is stuff that I just encourage you. If you love bartending, it's a fun job and you make so much money doing it. But it's a trade. And now, because of people like Mia, it's way more of a trade than it ever was because of these goddamn mixology drinks that I would never be able to figure out. But just go and invest in yourself, invest in education. I think it was like New England bartending school that I ended up going to, but they're all over the place. They're all in your area. My God, hire a bartender and pay them. Pay them the same amount for a week, $100 a day to come and train you for 7 days. But that's all I kept saying was like, oh my God, get these guys in school. Just for a few days even.
Yeah, just to learn the fundamentals.
Just the fundamentals. Okay, so Ghazi and Sam, of course, are fighting, and it was great. So Ghazi rebels, leaves the kitchen, and then goes out and defends his brick chips.
Yes.
It was like, no, people want it crisp.
People want it crispy.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
They want their teeth.
But you know what I kept saying to myself? Like, are there people who like that? Because I like a pita bread that's warm and soft. It could be a little crispy on the outside, but very soft in the middle.
Yeah, I like the warm ones.
There's a lot of the Greek restaurants here in LA. There's a couple, man, that just do it so well. It's like, and so I was like, maybe it's me, but then I know people do like pita chips, but that's different, right?
If you're expecting warm pita versus a chip, I mean, people were banging their pitas on the edge of the bowl, and it was a brick.
It was a brick. Okay, so this failed stress test is over, and they all get together, and they start blaming each other, and I'm sure there's a ton of editing here. Because at some point they just say, okay, we're all at fault and let's work together. And I thought that was great. It was like, let's try and do this. Was there anything else that training wise, you were able to do from that point on? Or was it just?
I had to start at square one with them.
But from that point, I'm saying, so after the stress test, did they have any training from the stress test to the bar? Oh, that's right, because you taught them the drinks.
Oh, yes.
But so you gave them all the basics there too. You didn't just teach them drinks.
Before I went into the drinks, and this is something that was not edited
there, right.
in.
Yeah.
We had to cover. This is how you hold a bottle. And break it down. This is your pour spout. It should be facing the direction you're pouring. It will be accurate. You hold the bottle this way. This is a jigger. This is how you pour into the jigger. I did jigger training with them with water.
Actually, Mia. So while we're on the air, I think you need to teach. But yourself. This might be a nice way to. We'll talk about that off the air. Like but you'd be great. Like to hire. Someone could hire. Basically, you could set up at your apartment. You set up a bar. You're laughing, but I'm telling you.
I'm laughing at the size of my apartment.
Okay, to me, all you would need is a 4 feet wide behind you to have the 3 tiers of the bottles, and then something in front of you, and you'd be good. I mean, it's not. I'll build you one. How about that? I will, actually, if you want me to. It wouldn't take much, but I think that it's such valuable training to get for somebody that really, because I know so many people want to break into this business. And then what I see, and I hate to say it, is I see a lot of cute girls or pretty girls, and then guys just throw them on the bar because they say, yeah, well, they're pretty, they'll attract customers. And then they're broken in all wrong. They never really learn right. And then it's almost impossible to break all those habits. And then that poisons the rest of the staff. And anyway. All right. John has to sit down with these 2 guys. And he gets them to admit, I rewound what Ghazi admitted to needing to do because I couldn't make it out. Was it just to stop drinking? Was that what he
agreed to stop drinking for the rest of the time that John was there.
Okay. Good. Well, oh my God.
It wasn't a lifetime commitment, but he was committing to the process of change.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't ask him never to drink again, but just can you not drink on nights you're working maybe? I mean, I don't know. And then Sam needs to not blame Ghazi anymore for making him buy the place. So they have a nice come to Jesus, which I thought was great. And then you force a jigger on them, which I thought was smart.
There was no alternative. We did not have the time to do pouring training and then teach them the cocktails that we were doing. Because again, we had a cardamom infused pomegranate syrup. We were incorporating authentic Moroccan flavors, and we can't describe layers of flavoring in a cocktail to a group that can't make a vodka cranberry. Like there was so much that needed to be taught. So jiggers, absolutely. No.
But I think it's funny. I forgot about the jigger because I so go with the pour. You know, every now and again when
I work with jiggers.
Really?
Oh yes, I have to.
Stephen, there's the details of a woman. I love that. Love.
Everyone at my bar does, because we know anywhere from the 12 drinks that are on our current menu to the 200 drinks that have been on every menu since we've opened 5 years ago. I'm still responsible for knowing all of those, in addition to the drinks that I know from doing various and sundry competitions. But accuracy is the key here. So if someone comes and orders a drink from me and then I go on break and they come back to get their second round, they should expect that that drink tastes exactly the same from the next bartender they get it from. Now we're doing craft cocktails that have anywhere from 4 to 12 ingredients. You need to be accurate with your pours. So, and I'm very fast. I'm one of the fastest in Los Angeles, and I
Thank you
work
very
with a
much
jigger.
to any of our critics.
Yeah.
Early on, we had people
I know.
remember being critical of us. Like,
Guys, go watch the videos. I'm fast.
Someone like, you need to bar rescue with people who are actual bartenders. I'm like, really? Me is one of the best. It's like, anyway, I love the Pomegranate. That seems amazing. And the fig and honey sour with your inventions?
Yes. I mean,
Wow.
but again, we sat down, John Penny and I, and talked about the flavors of Morocco and what we could tie in. I mean, if you look at Morocco is a dry culture. There aren't a lot of, they are known for this cocktail. They're not. It's a dry culture. So it was a way of looking at the spices and how we could incorporate that with the fruits of Morocco and how we could incorporate that into a syrup that I could then put into a drink. So there was a lot of discussion about the flavors and the ingredients before we landed on the cocktails that were presented.
And you know it's not a bar rescue episode without the Mia shake. Do you know the Mia shake, Stephen? That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You gotta get the camera
I
on
don't
yourself.
think I can
That's
do it
Show
without
everybody.
smiling.
That's it. It's always that that just adorable smile. And you do that at Soho too?
I do. I don't actually. The only time that I don't do it is when I'm doing competitions in speed competitions. I'm in beast mode then, and there's some
Right.
pictures of me double shaking with like determination face, and it's the only time I think I don't smile when I shake.
Love that.
It's a habit.
I love the Mia shake. No,
it's
this was a quick
fun.
one too. It was a quick one, but I always like when I get my Mia shake.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the reveal. So the new name is Manara, and I noticed the signs were vinyl. That they weren't. The texture of the signs outside were they temporary signs, or was I wrong?
Oh,
You didn't notice
I
that?
don't
It
know.
looked like they were temporary signs.
Right? Yeah, I know what's probably limiting. I've never asked John about this too, but I'm having this problem with the building right now that I'm buying. You're very limited on signage. There's city codes that have to
Yep.
be obeyed. So a lot of times when you see some of the signs on Bar Rescue that are just small or plain, I know they're limited. But the building, the painting is beautiful, and they really accented everything in the right way and made it look like banquet hall. It looked like Armenian banquet hall to now it's, a Moroccan bar restaurant.
It was gorgeous to walk into from,
Well, let's
from
talk
what
about
it
the
had
interior,
been. Yeah, from
right?
what it had been before, walking into this made-over interior, it was stunning. The colors, the warmth, the textures, it was stunning. And the fountain. I loved the fountain.
Fountain's great, and bar stools, and then the ceiling treatment. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
The
Of course, the fabric sways.
fabric, but with lighting. It was
Yes.
really cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know they make it bright so you can see everything in the show. When the bar's actually running, are the lights a lot dimmer?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and thank you for saying that, Stephen, because if you're ever underwhelmed by a bar rescue renovation, it's because they have to light it for television.
Yeah.
So they have to light it so you'll see the features, you'll see the people. But when those lights go out of there and you have the mood lighting that John lays down, and like lighting is, God, it's not only important in production for television and movies, but the older I get for houses, decor, wall decor, bars, light, businesses, just in general, lighting, interior lighting is so important. And yeah, I'm glad you said that, Stephen, because you don't really get to appreciate it because we have the TV lights in there. As we said, we did the Moroccan colors because of the spices. I even like the wallpaper behind the bar.
I loved
but
that.
it looked like tile. Right?
I loved that.
So smart.
It was such a small detail, but it just made the back bar pop so much.
And it speaks to John always, he said in previous episodes about multiple layers means more money, multiple textures. 60% more money, another takeaway, 60%, you'll make 60% more money in a well-themed environment. So this was now a well-themed Moroccan environment. And we had the dancers back, but were they the same dancers?
No, it was a different set of dancers that were authentic Moroccan dancers. So it was a brand new dance troupe that was...
I liked my other troupe. It was so great to see the girl, one of the bartenders, do the flaming drinks, and to see her face, how excited.
Gosh.
Right?
They were so proud of themselves.
Right.
Like, they learned so much in a week because they literally came from zero. And the fact that they could not execute a proper vodka tonic to the fact that they are now doing a flamed John Fire shot was mind-blowing. And there was so much pride that they were now able to come away with a new menu that they were excited about and that people were really responding positively to. And we gave them a future.
Right. And it says so much, Stephen, we were talking about this last week for AfterBuzz. We were doing a little bit of business, and I was saying to you the importance of education. So you see that most people, I know this is going to sound naive, most people don't want to be stupid. They don't want to be ignorant. It's just easy to be like that. So if someone's going to empower them to be ignorant, they're obviously going to take that road because it's easy. But deep down, I don't think people really want that. So when you have a boss that just keeps slamming you around or ignoring you, not setting you up for success, and then just getting mad after the fact, that just leads to them being confused and then bitter and down. But this was a great example of, just seeing that girl's face. It was like, wow, does she want, most people want to learn. Just give them the tools. And had they trained them or hired the proper people to train them or hired the proper people who had the training, maybe it would have been different. But they were excited. So I know it's the early part of learning stinks, being yelled at and, making mistakes and getting down on yourself, feeling ashamed. But when you keep going and have that breakthrough, it's just so worth it. They were so excited, they were so excited.
They really were. They were genuinely thrilled by everything that we brought for them.
And appreciative.
Their new menu, their new interior, everything. They were genuinely so excited.
I don't know, God, another thing just popped into my mind too about immigrants. They're just generally harder workers and more appreciative. They just are. And, Gene Simmons, funny, he said that. He said the rock and roll industry was destroyed by upper middle class white kids who were entitled and downloaded all the music and blah, 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 blah. And he said, if you notice, he went on to a greater point. If you notice when you go to sporting events, watch who's standing with their hand over their heart during the national anthem. It's the immigrants. Like my girlfriend's father is right off the boat. My grandparents, and they're so proud to be here, and they're more humble, and I don't know. I hate to just stereotype, but we've seen minorities and on the show, and we've seen immigrants. They've been the most responsive, the most humble, the most appreciative, the most wanting to learn, the most wanting to get better. And I swear to God, the ones that have been the bad guys that we know, and I won't even get back into it, the category, they don't fall into that category. And I don't think it's a coincidence anyway. $72,356 in revenue 6 months later from no money. Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I went to Bar Rescue updates, and it seemed that the reviews were positive. I feel like the name is back to Palace. And by the way, and that's maybe, now that I'm thinking in my brain, maybe that's why the signs were the way they were, because they were going to keep it.
If it was,
and maybe this was one that, which I don't want to take credit for this, but Bar Rescue updates had said, made the correlation that because of King Tut, the Tut premiere, that this might have been a deal where, they needed a Moroccan bar to make it all fit, to promote their show, and it was just smart. And maybe this is one that they probably didn't have as much license as they did in other bars. That's maybe why those signs were what they were. But again, it's like, John may not have known that. So, but I just always bum out when they do that. I don't know. I don't know if in the future it's not worth talking to them in detail about these people and their, and their names. It frustrates me because you have to commit to it, to whatever you're going to do. I mean,
Exactly.
I guess the Palace were, how many Moroccan bars are there in that area?
None.
Right. So I think they're fine either Menara or the Palace. It's always bum out because of the work that gets put in.
Exactly.
Another good episode of Bar Rescue. Did we get a tease for next week? I didn't see.
There was one, but I had gotten up and I missed it and came running back into the room.
It was super quick. It was like
it was
3
very
seconds.
quick.
Anything to tease me?
A guy yelling.
A music.
A guy
venue?
yelling. We like that. That's a good start.
So I saw a guy yelling. That's about it.
We need. Yeah, I feel like I'm ready for a crazy. I'm ready for
Stay tuned.
some crazy. Good. Yeah, I like hate them but love them.
There's some coming.
Good. Yeah, I know there are. No, it's a balance between there's the emotional ones, the sweet ones, the ones you just really hate, the villains, and then the just the wackadoodles, who I love. Anyway, so love this show. How many more are you set to do? Do you know?
I have filmed 2 that have yet to air, and then they start back up in August.
I am so excited. Okay, where do we find you? At Talmia. I always get this mixed up. At Talmia.
At Talmia, at Tall_Mia on Twitter.
Tall_Mia.
And
why do we have underscores? There's actually a Talmia out there.
I think there is. I think that's why. I think I had to get the underscore.
I like Talmia better than Mia Pastrami. Because that would have said too many different things.
No.
And you're not that tall. You are tall.
I'm 5'11"
That's
flat.
5'11". I know, but I also
heels.
don't want people thinking you're 6'2", 6'3". Like you're not.
No, but in heels, I sometimes.
Yeah, I'm saying that's well. What is a model? 5'10", 5'11", correct? Boom, done. I'm out. Why you guys need me anymore? All right, so wait, it's Tall_Mia.
At Twitter.
And then what?
And then Instagram, it's just Tall Mia.
Just Talmia at Instagram. I like it. Where do you have a better response? Do you find?
It's a mix of both.
Yeah. I think I get more on at Undergaro. I think I get more on Instagram because of my girlfriend who's moderately tall, Maria. She's 5'9". Okay, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and I'm really hoping, I'm going to pinch her right now,
I
that
know.
Mia
I
will
want to be
come
here.
next week because
We're leaving it up to the Soho House scheduling gods.
Okay, but this made my life so much easier. I mean, it's really hard to sit here alone. Dorinda's on a movie, and Roxy has 80 other shows here, and
Ashley.
So I've been behind the bar alone.
Well,
But I'm
making
good.
every effort to join you because I love this so much.
It was a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
And you make it, you really do enrich it because you're better than us. Just how it is, people.
Stop it.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.